Hey guys, what is up? I am TitoTheOG, and as you can see, today I have the Jakks Pacific Collector's Edition Shadow the Hedgehog action figure. Now, since this figure's announcement, it's been a roller coaster of changing opinions and controversial opinions at that.
This 6-inch Shadow the Hedgehog
Whoa!
customizable figure by
No
Jakks
way!
Pacific is sure to be a hit with
No
collectors
way!
and Sonic fans of all
I was
ages.
not expecting that.
Match the swappable
That's
pieces,
crazy.
including hands and toes.
He has the
Your
two
favorite
wings.
Shadow presentation.
No
Show
way.
off your customized master
He has a
Brock using
torso
Rocky Color
swivel.
display base.
This is so much better than the Sonic one.
Because I've been pretty vocal about how I feel about this figure based on its most recent stock photos and updates in the Walmart system, which it became originally available for pre-order at Walmart only back in like October-ish, and I pre-ordered it day one, and my order still has not shipped from Walmart, whereas many of my friends who have ordered it even after the fact from Walmart have gotten it. So I'm pretty disappointed in that. I really don't know what the heck is the issue with that, but it's just another, it just adds more to the flame of my disappointment in this figure. And I actually had to end up ordering this guy from Target, so I have my Walmart one that still says delayed with no shipment date, and then this guy that came in after ordering 2 days ago. So the shipment has been super messed up with this guy. But here he is. I have a lot of issues, but I'll get into that when I open it. As of right now, let's just take a look around the box. So on the front here, we have Shadow the Hedgehog with his menacing, gripping hand, and we see him with the Doom Wings. And I love the design of the packaging because it wraps around the box. You see I turn it to the side, you see the rest of his shoe along with the rest of the Doom Wing, and then you see a standalone image of Shadow without the Doom Wings and the base that is falsely advertised. And same for the back here with the base that is falsely advertised, because the final product looks nothing like that. So here it says 24 points of articulation, which I'm not sure how many points of articulation the other collector's figures had, but this guy has significantly more with more movie-like engineered parts. So I'll get more into that once he's out of box. 2 interchangeable hands, which is a open splayed hand and then a fist. And then he has the quill back pieces, the standard one, and then the part where you plug the Doom Wings in. Also, sorry if I sound a little congested. I've been sick for the past like 2 weeks. It's very annoying, so my nose has been stuffy. So just letting you guys know now. And then turn to the other side, another pic of Shadow with the Doom Wings. And they're actually angled downwards. I actually didn't know the Doom Wings were articulated. When they first showed it off, for some reason they never showed us that they were articulated, which is weird because I think that's actually very awesome. That's one thing I like about this figure, is that you can pose the wings. So let me show you the bottom, the barcode and everything. Oh, the goodie info that you guys will need if you go try to find him in store. There's the barcode. He is only at select targets, only in the targets that have the special unique collector aisle with more obscure items such as the Jada Metal Fig figures and even the carded 2.5-inch figures. So only select targets will have this, and the DPCI will be on screen also. Alright, so I think without further ado, we can go ahead and open this guy up. Or actually, no, I forgot to open the flap here. So when you open the flap, you see the figure itself with this awesome screenshot from when Shadow was transforming in game. I think this is a very awesome packaging design choice, and I love that it's actually themed off of Sonic X Shadow Generations. It kind of makes me wish that this was not a collector's figure and a Sonic X Shadow Generations like individual one-off figure, mainly because he doesn't really fit in with the other collector's figures. So upon opening it, I thought he looked really small in box. But you look on the sides and you can see the Doom Wings there lined up on the sides, which is honestly pretty cool looking, that they packaged them there on the side like that. It looks very cool in box. But let's go ahead and open him up now. All right, there he is, and there's going to be a lot of snipping and cutting to get him out of there. So I got my little pliers and let's get cutting. Okay, so I got one of the Doom Wings out, and this thing it's huge. And it has this protective piece of plastic between them, and oh, this is how they articulate. That's pretty darn awesome looking. This thing is huge, holy crap. The paintwork on this thing is actually very, very nice. I'm gonna set this aside and then talk more about that when I get to it. All right, now here he is out of box, and I wasn't expecting the Doom Wings to be this large. One wing itself is way taller than Shadow's height, and that's actually very awesome. But looking at the Shadow figure himself, you know, like on the back, it shows it comes with an extra fist, and the fists all have wrist articulation, which is good. Like I mentioned, this guy has articulation that is more in line with the movie figures, so he actually has butterfly joints that let him kind of angle his arms forward a bit more. I wonder if he could cross his arms. That would be very cool if he could. Kind of, yeah, he could actually kind of cross his arms. Let me actually try and see how it feels to swap his hands. Okay, so they pop out. And then I can pop the fist in right here and pose it. Whoa, that doesn't, I thought that went in. Let me see, I'll try and pop it in again. Okay. I popped it in, but it doesn't really stay in when I try and articulate it. But there it is articulated. And he kind of has his wrists pointing downwards. So let me try and point them upwards and see if I can get a arm cross pose with these butterfly joints. The hands don't stay in that well. I'm trying to pose them, and you can see whenever I try and pose, articulate it, it's kind of like wanting to pop out there. Also, the white speckles on my hands, no, my hands aren't dry. I spray paint, and the paint gets on my hands. He can cross his arms pretty decently, so that's not too bad. And aside from the butterfly joints, he can move his arms upwards and downwards. Upwards about this much. And he can actually rest his arms down to his sides. That's an issue that a lot of Sonic figures, or from Jakks specific, have, is that they can't rest their arms down by their sides just because of how they're engineered. But this guy can actually do it, which is pretty good. But he doesn't have any resting hands, so he's just kind of gotta have fists all the time because he's Shadow and he's always angry. And he also has a torso swivel, a very slight ab crunch, nothing really noticeable at all, not very much range out of it, to the point where I don't even think it was really necessary to try and make it an ab crunch. They could have just made a standard torso swivel, but I mean, it's there, so that's cool. And he has leg swivel, and he has bicep swivel, and his legs can make like a pretty good right angle. And he has the awesome articulated ankles from the movie figures, so he can angle his toes downwards about that much, and he can angle them forwards that much. And then, of course, the ankle pivot side to side, which is one of my favorite features of all of the figures. So that way you can have their legs angled different directions and have their feet on the ground. Now, as I'm posing him around, he feels very, very fragile. Like his limbs feel a little loose as I'm trying to bend his legs. You can kind of see right here on his thigh, it's popping out right there, and it looks like there's some tension there on the plastic itself. But look at that, I let go and now it leaves that gap there. So I recommend, if you're going to try and pose the joints, put your fingers as close as possible to the actual joints themselves to refrain from any breakage or wear and tear. So the one thing I was really disappointed about with this figure was the lack of face plates. That was one of my favorite features on the other two collector's figures, or not other two, but like all of the other collector's figures, because I love having different facial expressions for these characters. That's a huge part of them being cartoon characters, is that they're very animated. So having this awesome feature and being stripped away of it is kind of disappointing. And I know the reason why is so they can manufacture these Doom Wings, because these things are probably expensive to make and they're huge. So we lost faceplates in exchange for the Doom Wings, which is cool. But it's like, at that point, for me, give us more hands then. If you're going to take away one thing, give us more of another. This is basically his accessory, whereas the past figures all came with an accessory. But we're missing hands. Like, he only has fists and then these hands for each side. And I just feel for the price that this isn't really worth it. I know the designer of this action figure has commented on the Jakks Pacific Reddit, talking about behind the scenes of producing this figure and Jakks wanting to keep it under a specific budget. So it's not really his fault, it's more so Jakks being Jakks and cutting corners and stuff like usual. Which is very unfortunate, because Shadow is such a cool character and he can look very awesome if done right. Not too self-glazed, but this was my custom 4-inch, not 6-inch, custom 4-inch Shadow Generations Doomwing Shadow figure. And that really goes to show that metallic paint and different swappable faces can make a small figure look amazing. And I feel the scale of this figure, they could have done way more things with this guy. Let's actually put the Doom Wings on him and see how the back quills pop off. So, whoa. Though you guys could not see that, but those things flew way above me. So to put these wings on him, I have to get the quills, the alternate quills that came with it. And there's a slight gradient on them from black to like a purplish hue. And those can pop on these little pegs in the back. And now that those are popped on, I can pop in the Doom Wings. Okay, and he is now way too top heavy. So let me see, maybe if I could angle him downwards a bit more. No, this guy is not standing with the Doom Wings. Yeah, no, he definitely needs the base to stand. So the base comes with this little clamp here, and it's very flimsy. You can see it's kind of doesn't have much strength to it, so I don't know how this is expected to hold on to him. You pop it in this peg hole right here. Oh, and that's another thing I want to talk about. This base, it's based, get it, because we're talking about the base. It's based, what? Is that supposed to happen? That is, holy crap. That is so cheap. It just pops in and out, and that's why it's super flimsy, because it's not made to stay there. Why would it do that? This base is inspired by Shadow Generations and the cathedral-esque look of the hub world. Now, I love the design of it, but I loved how it looked more in promotional footage and pictures, because here you could even see it on the box. It is a metallic gold. The base was initially supposed to be metallic gold. Now, I don't know, I guess they just decided to cheap out again and not do metallic gold and just use solid brown. But it looks like poop compared to this one right here, which is very unfortunate. But let's just go ahead and get him on this base here. I think oh my god, how am I expected to do anything when it just falls apart like this? Oh wow, the arms aren't even like articulated on the clamp. They're just, is strictly just based on tension. So don't open it too wide or else you'll snap it, I guess. How am I even supposed to be expected to get this thing on if it falls off every 5 seconds? Dude, like, what am I supposed to do here? Am I supposed to clamp it on him first and then? I really don't know, but I guess I'll just peg his shoes into here. I guess he could stand fine just leaning on the base itself. The Doom Wings, they look awesome. I just wish there was a more practical way to put them on him without needing to stand, because they are really heavy for him. This little arm stand that comes with this sucks. I'm taking that off. This is another thing I actually noticed when I was unboxing it. On the bottom of the base, it has these little parts of plastic right here. And I thought, oh, what if I can put the hands there? And look at that. Sure enough, I can use this as storage for the extra hands, which is actually a great idea on their part. I really love this idea. It's been an issue with having no storage for these parts on the previous figures, so I just have them all in like baggies and drawers. But now that you could actually store the minuscule amount of parts under the base, it's pretty convenient. I don't know if that'll add some weight to it or what, but maybe that'll help. Okay, I guess there he is on the stand. He was so hard to put on there, holy crap. I would not feel comfortable like putting him on the edge of my shelf, because I feel like he would fall over any second now. But there he is, Doomwing Shadow. The wings are probably the coolest part of this because they have like 2 different finishes on them. You can see the purple, the darker purple areas they have a glossy finish, whereas the rest has this matte finish, which I think is very cool. I'm sure a lot of the budget went into just painting the wings, and now I'm just gonna take them off because I can't stand the base. But if you look at the back of the wings, they actually have different, like, multiple layers of, you know, wings. So you have the front part, and then you even have like a back layer, so when you articulate it, there's still like some wings there showing, which is very nice. They feel very good quality. You know, these aren't flimsy like the other parts of him. This is probably the best produced part that they have made for this guy, and I like them a lot. I just wish he could stand better. But there is another thing I want to talk about this figure, and it's his paint work, his paint job. So this guy, his paint job is rough. Now, I know I've been complaining a lot, but this guy is also retail cost 50 clams, 50 doubloons, $50 bills. And that is absurd for this final product. The paint isn't anything to write home about, and he's just a okay figure. Now let me get the 4-inch Shadow to compare to. Now here he is next to the 4-inch Shadow from Jakks Pacific, and the biggest difference for me is the lack of metallic cuffs, inhibitor rings on the collector's figure. Now yes, these hands are custom hands I made for Shadow, but even on the standard hands, they had metallic paint on the cuffs. And that's such a big part of Shadow's character, is having these inhibitor rings that just look very cool. And the fact that they're solid yellow on this guy, it just makes him look so much more cheap, like so much cheaper than $50. And even if you turn to the bottom of the shoes, like, what is this? What is this, man? This looks so rough. There's no like black painting inside of the exhaust holes on his air shoes, and they're just solid yellow, man. It's just a big disappointment all around. And yeah, man, I love Shadow the Hedgehog, and I really wanted an awesome official action figure of him to display on my shelf, because I want Jakks to make amazing figures. And not only the paint job, like some of the way this figure is put together, like there are just so many like, look at his head, for example. There are so many seam lines on this head. Like, if there's no swappable parts on the head, why does there have to be this many seam lines? There's a seam line ring that's like a ring going all around his forehead. And then there's a seam line on each of his quills, on every single one of his quills. And it even causes there to be another seam line interrupting this middle stripe right here. And it just doesn't look all that appealing. Now, here is the collector's shadow next to the other two collector's modern figures, Modern Sonic and Modern Tails. Now, these guys all look like they're from complete separate lines due to the difference in quality of them. I honestly think that the best modern collector's figure is Tails. Tails is amazing. He has so many accessories. His plastic feels very high quality. He has so many different faces. And he's just an amazing feeling figure. He feels like quality. And it's unfortunate because I thought Tails was the golden standard for these collector's figures. And I thought they would all maintain this amount of quality from here on. And I think this guy's probably the worst of them all. He has a lot of issues. But here we have Shadow that came out 2 years after this guy. And he has the same cheapy plastic that Modern Sonic had. And sure, he has more articulation, but I'd rather have a better quality looking figure than this flimsy articulation. And also, what the heck is up with Shadow's proportions? I think Sonic's proportions look fine aside from his fat limbs. Shadow's his limbs are a great size. I just think his knee is too far down. Like, it bends really far down. And I think his torso is way too tiny. They made his torso really, really small. I don't know what's up with that. Overall, guys, I just feel like this figure is quite lackluster and a major letdown for us Shadow the Hedgehog fans. Now, I know I've been complaining a lot of this video, but it's how I feel. I spent my money on this guy and he's very disappointing. If you like him, then that's awesome. I'm happy for you. I just really want people to love these figures that they are making. And if it's something you really love, then that's amazing. But I just feel for the price, I think he's not really worth it. Now, in the past, the collector's figures are always going on clearance. I got my Modern Sonic for 27 bucks. I got Tails for 30 bucks. And Classic Knuckles, I saw him a few weeks ago for $17 on Target's website. Now, this guy is probably one of the weakest of the bunch, and I don't know if he'll be able to go on clearance because of how much everyone eats up Shadow the Hedgehog merchandise. So it's really a gamble if he will ever go up on clearance or if he's just gonna sell out almost instantly. But personally, if you're on the fence, I would wait. If you still really want him after watching this review, then get him ASAP because I'm not sure if he'll go on clearance. Now, with all that being said, guys, please let me know down in the comment section below what you think of this action figure. If you love me, of course you love me. If you love him, tell me why. And if you don't, also tell me why. I'd love to hear everyone's thoughts. Don't forget to like and subscribe to become an OG because that's what everyone wants to be. I am TitoTheOG, and I will see you guys next time.